Hey, everyone, once again, I gave a clap to make sure we're all alert. Are we all alert? Because first of all, some big news has happened. First of all, I mean, guys.
You're really good at this hosting thing.
Wait, calm down. It's a really nice day outside. That's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, a little known game called Overwatch 2. The beta is about to come out. Have you guys heard about that?
Something, you know, beta, delta, gamma, something about that, yeah.
Some in math, science, yeah.
Greek letter.
Greek letters. Yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're going to be seeing all of your favorite streamers that suddenly love Overwatch, playing Overwatch 2 in the coming days. You're going to be seeing that.
In the Tapman is back?
Yeah, you're going to be seeing all of them. Pokimane, Dr. Disrespect.
Oh,
no,
they're all coming back.
Everyone. XQC? Let's go.
Yeah, XQC. I mean, PVC. Like they're all back. Myself.
Acronyms.
We're all coming back. You know.
Seagull.
Seagull, even a Seagull. So big stuff here with the alpha footage released and the embargo lifted. Myself, I was part. I'm just gonna say I was part of the beta, the alpha. I didn't make any footage, mostly because I was too busy and I was lazy. That's the main stuff. So
I didn't see you online, bro.
I was online. You just missed me. I was online. But I do think that it's very exciting, right? Like we're all excited now that we can see content. Everyone remember content? Does everyone remember content in Overwatch?
Dude, I just tweeted out right before we started recording. By the time Overwatch League starts next week, it will have been 222 days since the grand finals. And then there was that post on the competitive Overwatch Reddit as well. It's like you survived 109 days without any balance changes, 767 days without a new hero, 986 days without a hero rework, 1,103 days without a new map, and of course 906 days since the announcement of Overwatch 2.
1,000 days since a new map.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
1,100
maps.
1,100.
They don't count.
1,100 non-deathmatch maps. Yeah.
Johnny, that sounds like someone in a prison cell just marking off the days one by one. You know, like, oh, it's been 1,000 now. Made it.
Yeah, we remade a room in my house, so that's the entire wallpaper. It's just like me drawing straight lines on the wall.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
They're the real ones, you know. Anybody who's played an Overwatch this entire time with no content and they finally made it, like, I'm proud of you. Pat yourself on the back. You're a real one.
I mean,
I hope they make a documentary about Emon. That must have been like an amazing year and a half. Like how
Emon, Flats, J3, like dominating the Twitch category for this long, and how they look. I tried to play tank in the off season in the drought of content, and then I quit after 5 games. It was good times.
I made 4. Good on you, Joe.
Well, good news is that you have one less tank to play heading to Overwatch 2, so that's the good news.
God bless.
Going forward. So there's been a lot of footage released. I think we are like. We should take a look at some of that. We should take a look at like what's alpha footage should we see? What should be exciting? Bad Patchy Mario made a nice video.
Sojourn?
Everyone remember see that? Sojourn? See Orisa? I want to see Orisa happening here. So I think this is Bad Patchy Mario's video, correct?
Yeah, this is Bad Patchy Mario.
So he made a fantastic video. He made his 1 video a year. He's done. He goes back into hibernation. He will see no more content. It has
more than 500k viewers. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
Do you mean likes?
Overwatch YouTube is back.
Do you mean likes?
No, views.
Look at the views.
Oh yeah, views. For some
views.
reason, when you said viewers, I'm thinking like live streaming, and my brain's just off. I just had lots of travel days. My brain is just like functionally off.
Dude, it's crazy. Your Overwatch got 338,000 viewers. I think Flats had like 600,000 viewers on a video. Dude, it's crazy. Overwatch content is back.
It's back.
Spot the jaws in this video. There's quite a few. Me and BP duos like every single day on the alpha. Like it was like playing Overwatch with the boys again. You know, just logging on, just get on with your homies, and then just hanging out in random quick play games. Yeah, it was honestly awesome.
My entire alpha experience is being featured in other people's videos dying, probably. I just remember looking at some videos.
Dude,
oh, there I am. I'm in the kill feed. I died. There you go.
Same with me. When I was streaming on the like, oh, you get to talk about it day, everybody was like, I've seen. Oh, there's me.
There you are.
That was really good timing. Wow.
Getting fragged.
Yeah, and it was like, I saw you in the kill feed all the time. Like people come in my chat. So yeah, I can imagine it was the same for you, AVRL, because you were on it like a ton too.
I was in the They released some sort of like content creator pug. They called it a scrim. I don't know. I'm not going to get the terminology, but it's like this content creator pug. And it's not my POV. There's like someone spectating it as well. And all you just see is my name in the kill feed getting killed over and over because I was like 250 ping. I was on awful ping, so I was getting absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, the queues are a bit nightmarish sometimes. I remember because me, you, and BP duoed for a little bit, and like me, you, and Seth. Do you remember we waited in the queue for like half an hour, and then Seth was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna leave, bro." And I was like, "Okay, that's good because 2 hours time, BP's logging on, and I can do it with him. We're just gonna play for the whole day." It was so sick, but you had to catch it at the right time. But when everybody was on, it was cool. It was almost like a high-rated lobby where you kind of like know everybody. Which is great. Oh, this is the clip that I got killed by John Spector in this this
How
map.
many pros did you go up against? And what was that like for you?
Oh my god, that's my favorite part of the video. You got to go watch this video. This is my favorite part. How many pros? I played against quite a few. I actually played against someone like a ton. Dude, someone was only playing Doomfist, and he was like destroying people on Doom. It was disgusting.
I've heard good things about someone. I mean, we'll get to that at a later point.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Heard good things about the
return of 2016 Overwatch. It feels, remember when it used to be fun to play Overwatch and it was cool? Everyone was like, guys, let's all go into Overwatch.
I was literally in like Discords that are not even about gaming, and they were talking about this video and talking about Overwatch, and I was like I don't know what this feels like. I don't know what it feels like to be relevant in the gaming scene anymore with like content and people.
Johnny, I think it's kind of crazy because if BP's video is this popular, I mean, we can just credit him for the marketing of Overwatch 2, really, because this has done wonders.
I mean, that's like how all game marketing is really built around, right? Is influencer marketing now. Anyways, is BP an influencer? That's up for you to decide. That's up for you to decide.
He's influencing me. I'm being influenced.
Yeah. So, I mean, that makes him an influencer, right? Well, there's a lot of cool footage, a lot of stuff going on. We need to delve into some specifics. We have to talk about some stuff that we're all bat chesting about. We're all rapidly bat chesting over and over for. So Sojourn was revealed, the new hero. Speaking of that long gap of new heroes, what was it? It was 767 days of that new hero. Well, it's now we've got it. Sojourn. We've seen Sojourn. We've seen her abilities. We've seen some gameplay footage of her. How are we feeling about Sojourn? What's our initial thoughts? Meta? Not meta? Strong? Not strong?
Personally, I don't think she's that strong. She was at the very beginning because her ult had a slightly bigger hitbox, so you could it was a little bit more forgiving, especially to people on ping, to get headshots and stuff. That was cool, but I think hit scans are just so good in their alpha, at least, that she felt a little bit like everybody was tending towards more hit scans like Soldier and stuff towards the very end because he was super quick with his sprint. So I'm not sure. I'd love to see her I'd love to see her find a place in the start of the Overwatch League, but it's really hard to tell at this moment because it's like with any new hero, where do they fit in?
Yeah, Joel's right. Like at the start of the kind of like team meta, a lot of teams were playing Sojourn because her numbers were really busted. It was like, I don't know, she had one ability that was like doing way too much damage as well.
Her slow field used to do way too much.
Disruption
Do you want to explain the abilities real quick while you talk about her?
Yeah, I guess. We should go over the abilities as you talk about them too. Maybe just do a rundown.
Yeah. So there's a disruption shot ability, which is like, is it her E? You might see it. BP will be thrown out of the left hand. It like it shoots a little thing. And it's
slow.
Big,
right there.
There you go. That's right there. That's that big slow
damage. Yeah.
Looks like a giant smoke from Valorant is what it looks like to me. And
you're not wrong.
And it slows people down. It does damage. I think right now it does somewhere around like 200 damage if you stay in it the entire time. It lasts for how long? 4 to 5 seconds, something like that.
Slow's not crazy, so don't go crazy in the
yeah. People have like lost their minds over the slows, but the reality is the slow is actually like not that bad. That strong.
Wait till you tell them about the one shot on the rail. So you'll see this as well. You hit people, and then it gives you like 5 charge for a body shot, 10 charge for a headshot, and then less than that if you shoot a shield. And then you right click and you dispense your charges for a rail gun shot, and that's a hit scan, and it can headshot. And at a certain charge, I think it was like 70 or 80 or something.
You can one shot, I believe.
You can one shot a 200 HP target at like 80% charge, and then your ultimate automatically charges that railgun at all times, and it pierces targets. You can collateral. I actually saw a scrim where someone collateraled 2 people with that. It was pretty hardcore. And then what she got a power slide on her shift, which is what cooldown now? 8 seconds, something like that.
It was pretty bonked at first, right?
Yeah, it was like 5 seconds. You can slide in any direction. That's something that people probably don't know, but you can. It's not just sliding forward. You can slide any direction around you 360. And then anytime during the slide, you press space and you can do BAPS exo jump at any point. So it's great. It's like way better than BAPS jump. It's like the better version of BAPS jump.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. First and foremost, she's really fun. You know, she might not be the most powerful when you like stack it up, and like first week of Overwatch League, we might not see Sojourn like as much as we probably want, given that it's a new hero and all. But when people get a chance to play her in the beta, oh my god, she is so much fun. She I mean, people have made this comparison, but she plays like a Quake kind of character, where it's like you have the railgun, of course, and you have the slide, which was a mechanic in Quake 4, and like you move really quickly. She feels
even
amazing.
The gun looks like a Quake gun.
Yeah,
like it looks like the old LG. Like if it does from Quake 3. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it looks like the old LG.
Yeah, she's so much fun. I'd say she's probably like my favorite character in the game now. Like when I stack her up against like, hey, you like Sojourn more or May? You know, I'm like probably Sojourn. Yeah. Which goes for most heroes. Like it's like, do you like Sojourn more or Reinhardt?
Yeah, really good. Everybody loves May.
Everyone loves May. Yeah. But really, I'm not like exaggerating. I think Sojourn is an incredible hero, primarily because she is so much fun to play, and it really makes me excited to see what more heroes they have coming up as well, because I'm expecting like at least a few hero releases this year, you know, like 3, 4, like I'm expecting that, because it's been a while, guys. If you have Sojourn, if that's all you have ready, a bit disappointed, but I would
be beyond disappointed. I would be beyond disappointed. I would be rioting. I would be people rioting if we only have one hero. If they were like, guys, we're gonna have the dev time only 360 days to the next new hero, I would piss and shit and fart. I'd be so
I'm expecting 3 more heroes, and based on how much fun Sojourn is to play, I'm so excited to see what they have in store, because really
super high skill ceiling too. So like obviously with just any kind of movement hero, Tracer is the perfect example. High skill, extremely high skill. There's a big ceiling there you can try and reach for. With the railgun, you have to be superbly accurate to make that work, because if you just pop ult and then you miss all your shots, that's like, okay, GG. Like if you're hitting people in the body, that's cool, you know, you're doing damage, but you really want to go for those one taps like on the backline and stuff. There's honestly the most satisfying thing to do as Sojourn is just pop ult, hit that slide, jump over the tanks or jump over some sort of terrain, and just nail supports when you're in the air. It's so much fun.
Which is my experience playing against Pineapple from the Hangzhou Spark, just on a respawn simulator, really. Yeah, would you guys say she almost plays a bit like an Apex character as well? Because I had an Apex guy come into my stream, and he apparently played an ALGS. He was like, oh, do you have any like information or tips, or like maybe how I could change from Apex to Overwatch to go pro or something like that? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you obviously want to play the beta, but you want to check out this hero called Sojourn. That might be like a good transition hero for you. Because really gives off that kind of vibe.
Yeah, the gun
the slide
itself
as well, just the movement, everything.
Movement,
you know? I feel like her entire kit.
Yeah, sorry.
This is like exactly the direction I want heroes to go in for Overwatch 2. I want them to feel fluid. I want them to feel dynamic, and you want to be able to feel like you're doing cool shit, you know? And that's kind of like the direction I feel like they're going with Overwatch 2 when they remove the tank. They made everything a lot faster. Sojourn kind of, even though it is a new DPS hero, and I'm mad, I wanted a support or a tank, honestly, but she's really cool. It's a very, very cool kit. It's something that I want to see more of in the game. So let's focus then a bit on, we've seen the impressions. She's definitely been tuned a lot. She used to be like way more turbo busted, but she's been tuned a lot down. Is she going to be something that we expect to be strong heading into like Overwatch League, right? When eventually the beta ends, like, and like where she ends up, like maybe she's around her current state. If we were to say like today, like, okay, like what Sojourn fit into the meta base of our current balance, is she going to be someone we expect to be meta, or maybe perhaps not as strong as people are expecting?
So, okay, I'm not Yiska, okay, but I've heard the Screambuck stock exchange. I've heard some rumors, I've heard some small things that primarily there's a lot of Soldier and Widowmaker being played. So I think that, and I mean, we've played the alpha as well. Like, we played the game as well.
Yeah, Widow is trash on the alpha. Come on now.
Sorry, what?
Widow is terrible on the alpha. Are you serious?
I don't know about your Widow, but my Widow's really good.
No, look at my Widow is cracked. Dude, every hero just outguns Widow. every DPS just runs at her way quicker. She's like the only hero that doesn't.
We're getting too deep into the weeds about.
Okay,
we could make 3 other YouTuber thumbnail videos about this. We gotta talk about Sojourn. Sojourn specifically.
Okay. The thing is, okay, so the reason I say Soldier and Widowmaker, I think they really fulfill like 2 very different purposes. Obviously, look with like Widowmaker, you're sitting back, you're sniping, you're playing a slower pace of game, and like it's so powerful being able to like one-shot characters, and you only have to worry about 1 tank instead of 2. Like at some point, there's so much limited protection that Widowmaker automatically becomes strong because her kit is, you know, being able to one-shot characters. Whereas Soldier almost plays like a bit of a tracer because, as Joss mentioned before, like Soldier is so much fun now. Like I guess that's the biggest turnaround in 2022 is Soldier.
Faster. But the thing is, he was always
super quick because he can sprint and it has the DPS passive. Like he's like a bigger tracer, and then you have even bigger tracer Diva. You know what I mean? And he has self heal, takes the pressure off supports. Soldier's like OP. Soldier is super good.
So you have those 2 characters that fulfill like a hit scan purpose, but 2 very different purposes. Where one is like a flanker like Soldier, and one is like a sniper like Widowmaker that's way more slow about, you know, poking and actually killing people directly. Sojourn is like somewhere in between. I don't think the role is as clearly defined yet, where it's like, I guess it, you know, in the alpha it was really powerful because you would build this charge by shooting shields. And so when the other team was like, hey, we're going to bunker down, you know, we're going to play around a shield like Sigmas, you'd just be like, well, I'm just gaining free charge so I can one-shot your characters. And, you know, it was out of control. But Sojourn doesn't like have a perfect, this is what I'm doing in your composition. And so it's like a really good pick at times because I feel like there are other characters that have their job defined better for them and do a better job at it. So I think it'll take a little time before people figure out how to effectively use Sojourn and really slot her into a good composition.
I mean, I think if anyone that was in scrims early, you would have seen a lot of Sojourn. What's crazy to me is I felt like she was going to replace Soldier 76 entirely because I'm like, I looked at the kits, I'm like, well, what does Soldier do that Sojourn doesn't just do better? Like they have a very similar kit, very similar left click, the right click's this big burst, they have a shift for mobility. Really, they do a lot of similar things. I value that Disruptor Shot E very highly over the self heal as well. But then fast forward to today, and everyone's talking about Soldier 76 instead for all the reasons you guys listed: the fast movement speed, DPS passive plus sprint is broken, huge flanks you can take, and all that kind of stuff. It's putting Sojourn in a really weird place right now. That with her nerfs kind of pushed her out of pro meta a little bit. I think she could still be in there, but it's hard to say anymore. Because I want to see pro level Sojourn play. You want to see the Overwatch League pros on that new hero to show the potential. And I'm not too sure anymore where she's gonna fit in.
Yeah, you can also play Diva too, because you can eat the rail and you can eat the Disruptor Shot. So if she pops overclocked, you just kind of run at her, or you just look at her and then you eat all of her overclock shots. So it's really hard for her to get anything done. And she has the movement, but it's not like constant like Soldier has. It's crazy that we're talking about Soldier like this, by the way.
But I mean, it's such an interesting thing that legs is really back, funny, right?
Like
that he's just fast. He's just has legs, and it's good. But the thing is, you would think Sojourn, she has better legs, but her legs still aren't as good. She has the literal XYZ dimension legs, and she just can't run. She can only slide. And that's what I find so interesting about Sojourn's kit too, is that she has so much maneuverability, but it still falls behind the pure speed of like Soldier and Tracer. And that's like a big part of it. And also, as Avril, I think Avril, you pointed out, teams definitely value it feels. And also when if you get your hands on the game, it definitely feels like having the ability to sustain yourself in fights and reposition is extremely strong, because there's going to be times where you cannot get healed. You will not be able to get like any help from your supports, mostly because you're going to be dead. And like, but also because of the fact that you can't get healed often if you're going for long flanks, and Soldier can reposition so fast that I think that's what has also pushed Sojourn a little bit out of the meta, is that Soldier kind of
he can't be punished a little
better. Yeah,
because how do you chase the Soldier? He's so fast now when he's
you have to be a soldier to chase Soldier.
He's on a flank. He's on a flank. You've only got one tank anyway to mitigate damage. You've got a hit scan on his left click, and then when you want to punish him
as well.
So what do you mean?
Healing in general, like from the supports, it does less.
Oh yeah, of course.
So you're just you're constantly under pressure as a support.
It used to be, there's a Soldier on a flank. Okay, we'll send our Diva off tank to fly at him while our Ryan just holds the shield, right? Now it's like your Diva's got to make a choice. Like, do I fly at the Soldier and fail to chase him because he's too fast, or do I stay with my team and we just get shot? And so it's like a really difficult thing to do.
I think we should nerf Soldier to the ground. Get him out of
definitely.
the meta. He's been in the meta for too long. Get him out. We should put
cement on his shoes, and he can't run very fast.
Put him in a wheelchair or crutches. I don't know.
Well, so final verdicts in of Sojourn. Now that we had the soldier talk, now we had our Sojourn soldier segment. Looking good, but doesn't really have a fit. You know, like that's her biggest weakness. She just doesn't fit anything or do anything better than another character.
Would she get played if Soldier wasn't in the game? If Soldier 76 deleted, would Sojourn be there? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think she would be the other hit scanner for sure. Well, there's Tracer, but like you could play like Soldier, you could play like Sojourn Tracer or stuff. Like she probably would be the other hit scan, like one of the other mobile hit scan choices if Soldier was not available.
I'm just wondering if Soldier 76 is the reason she's not meta, because it's like, well, we can just play Soldier instead. Why play Sojourn when we can play Soldier? Is maybe one of the things. I'm just wondering if you didn't have Soldier, she would be meta.
I think she would be far more meta if Soldier was on the game, because people want to have maneuver. Generally, from what I've seen, it's like you want maneuverability. There are very few, like there are obviously instances, but there are instances where you want to play very bunker style. Where you're playing like around Orion and like having a May and such, but a lot of times, like based off everything I've played and seen, it's maneuverability is still very, very strong, and like Sojourn would still fit into that mold, right? And she does have strong pop-off moments. It's just she just doesn't sustain enough to do anything. So Sojourn looking pretty decent. Let's then talk about the new one of the big redesigns that we saw. We have two big redesigns, but we'll talk about the first one. Orisa has a spear. Orisa has a spear, and she will throw it. And she will pin you.
Sweet.
And it's fucking cool. Her kit, I said this when I saw the reveal, and we can talk about her kit more as see here. So her kit, I think, is the best, one of the best reworks I've ever seen for a hero. I don't necessarily think she's going to be like, we can talk more about her meta thing, but I love the direction they tried to push Orisa with this. And I've loved what they've done with her. So she's added an energy javelin where she can launch it at people, stun them. And also if you pin them to a wall, it's like does more damage. She still has her fortify, but she also like is a little bit slower. It just pretty much makes sure that she can be more accurate.
That's her mitigation ability, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of mitigation, like a lot of damage mitigation. She has a spin instead of so they removed her shield essentially, and they've given her a spin where it destroys the projectiles and it can push people forward, and she runs faster essentially while she's doing it. And then her ult is now like it's like something that pulls people into you and does damage, and it slows.
It's like a Dota ability.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you stronger, like more resistant as you do it. It's a very cool.
Kind of like a Earthshaker Enigma kind of thing going on.
So how are we feeling about Orisa? How are we feeling?
Yeah, it's gone from the worst, like not worst, I guess, but the most boring hero in all of Overwatch, Orisa, to one of the funnest heroes to play. Because not only do you have a skill shot in the javelin, you can like run at people, and you see on the BP video where you can just like environmental people off the map, or you can push them against the wall and then your teammates can kind of finish them off. And the ult is also really satisfying to use. It's a little bit, you can get out of it, but it's also, if you don't, you get dominated. Look at this. It's just unbelievably fun. The left click does look like you're throwing cabbages at people, which is very funny. But just in general, the hero has gone from probably the most boring to one of the funnest tanks in the game. And like when people get their hands on her, I don't think people will believe it's Orisa. You could quite literally remove Orisa from the lore and from everything, replace it with a hero that looks exactly like her, and it's a brand new hero. Like it's that much of a rework. It's
I mean, she went from the most defensive kind of hero with like a massive shield and fortify and like super slow, and now it's like aggressive Sigma. Like I'm not kidding. That's kind of who she is. She doesn't have a shield like Sigma, but like you have the spin that like destroys the projectiles, and you can like you get movement speed by using your spin as well. Like you see, you push people around, and you have the spear, which is like a pretty offensive ability. You can pin someone down like that. Obviously, this thing is as well as like an AoE damage ability, kind of like Sigma, but a little bit different. But it's a completely different hero. My girlfriend's going to be mortified. She's an Orisa player. She loves Orisa, and she was like, "What's going on here with Orisa?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, she's like aggressive Sigma now." She was ruined Orisa, and I was like, "Well, sacrifice had to be made. This had to be done." Orisa is way different and way more fun now.
She also wouldn't work in Overwatch 2 anyway. Like imagine her just sitting on a corner. You know what I mean? Like evil toaster strat, and just like
so that's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. There's no like bunker hero anymore.
Just Sigma.
No, I mean Sigma, and also I mean I've seen there's the Rhine be used as like a semi bunker at times where you.
Yeah, but that's like 2016 bunker. It's not the same. Like you can't play like obviously not double shield, but like you can't bunker like super slow anymore. I feel like anyway, which is like a bit of bonus. I don't know if you guys disagree. Maybe you can play bunker, but
if everyone's done speaking about the positives of Orisa, I'm gonna into the dark side here.
Yes, we feed off negativity. It's the online. We need that for views. Go.
First of all, you mentioned Evil Toaster, and I played against him. His Orisa was actually nutty. So if you want to see some gameplay of Orisa, if you're just thirsting for more Orisa content, we've seen the BP video. Go check out the Evil Toaster one as well, because I die a lot in his one. Yeah, so I generally think the Orisa rework is good. That's where I'm going to start from. But I also think she lacks a lot of identity now, because as far as her ult kit being boring, as Jaws said, I think the identity was really strong. She's a defensive tank. You put down a shield, you hold back. She defends great, slow to push, but she serves a purpose extremely well, which is probably why double shield and bunker was so effective in various metas. But now her kit to me is all over the place. Is it fun? Yes, but like what is she actually supposed to do? Because part of her kit makes you want to go aggressive, and part of her kit is still like really ranged pokey. Like, you know, you have a spear. You could do that melee, but you could do that from range as well. Her left click is still the same mostly. So, you know, you want to be kind of like a ranged hero, but then she also wants to go in because she has that the spear thing in the front, and then her ultimate as well. She helicopters in two ways, you know, in both X and Y directions. To me, I don't know what the identity is, because is she meant to be like an aggressive Rhine type hero? But then I don't think she's got the shield on Rhine helps a lot. The rest of Rhine's kit helps a lot. She doesn't quite have the poke that Sigma has anymore, because the shield is really strong on Sigma. And the ultimate on Sigma is much better. Like if you compare Flux to the Terra Lance, would you just say that Flux is a better ultimate? Because I think it is. It's range, and I would say so. It's just far easier to use. You know, the ultimate on Orisa wants you to be melee range, but then other parts of her kit don't want you to necessarily be melee range, like her left click. So I just find her kit very confusing in terms of where the identity is, because she's not a dive tank, but she wants to be close. She's not quite a brawl tank. She wants to be close, but she's also not long range enough to really do that either. Like, you know, it's just a weird kit.
I really kind of disagree with that, actually. Like, I'd say she is straight up like not a Reinhardt, but she's a brawl hero. Definitely,
is a brawler,
she wants to be up in your face. The left click, yeah, like you said, probably the only thing that doesn't really like. Oh no, it's not like a hammer. It's not like a melee weapon or anything like that. But ideally, you just want to be close. You want to be able to run at people with the spear, deflecting, get close enough, hit fortify, so you have more HP. Spear, people stun, and then other people follow up. And then Terra Lance also is an ability that you can use in melee range. She's like she's a brawly hero that's like not melee like Rhine is. I'd say she has like a place in that space, I suppose, between like Rhine and then her and then Doomfist. But I also don't think she needs that much identity, to be honest with you.
Why'd you play her instead of any of those heroes you listed?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think you need that like actual identity. Oh, you need an anchor tank, you know what I mean? Like that was what her identity was in Overwatch 1. Because I think the hero is so fun and like so engaging to the point where, yeah, okay, sure, she's not going to be seen in maybe Overwatch League, because why not play Ryan, why not play Doomfist or anything like that? But I don't think it matters. I think as long as it's engaging for the regular fan of Overwatch, maybe not of the Overwatch League, maybe they are as well, I don't think that's a problem at all, because she is a fun character that can act as a tank and does act as a tank. I think that's completely fine.
I see your point. Where I would maybe be a little bit concerned is that, like, at some level, I don't know, at least in Overwatch 1, metas can kind of trickle down and you can definitely feel the differences. And this is the kind of territory where, like, maybe 5 months down the line, maybe even sooner than that, you pick Orisa and your teammate flames you for not picking Ryan instead because Ryan is just better, right? Like, that's a possible scenario. So even at the casual level, when I look at it that way, I'm not saying that's 100% going to happen, but I know in Overwatch 1, you know, there's a lot of situations where you're going to get flamed for picking a hero that's not meta or whatever.
Yeah, as much as I think she's a fun character, sorry for interrupting you, Ariel. Did you want to finish your point?
The only thing I was going to finish with was, like, when I look at her kit, I almost feel like she should have just been a new hero. Like, all the spare stuff, cool. You guys know that Magnus thing from Colosseum that everyone thought was a new hero? That should have just, I don't know, maybe make Magnus, give Orisa's kit to Magnus or somebody and just have like a new gladiator here. That would have been really solid. It just feels like Orisa's identity is kind of wonky now. Or at least I think if you're going to rework her, get rid of her left click as well and make it more brawly.
Make it
to at least fit that brawl kind of archetype. Like, that's what I'm looking for, because she just doesn't feel like she does her job as well as other heroes, which is strange to me. So I mean, either go all in on what her role is, or just like, don't give me this kind of half hero design, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree a little bit. As much as she looks so much fun in BP's video, I didn't, when I played her as a tank, I was just like, what am I trying to do as a tank? Like, she's fun to play, but like, what am I trying to do for my team here except hit spears and like run at people? So I maybe it's her primary fire, like maybe one change away from like really coming into like an identity kind of like that. She is fun, and I think it's a fun rework, which is way better than the bunker version of her. But I could see how like down the line, maybe like the Overwatch fans are like, I'd like to see one more change with Orisa to truly make her like flourish, because at some points it's like, what am I doing with this hero? Even though she's pretty fun to play.
I mean, I also don't think she currently suffers from like lack of direction. I think it's very clear her direction is to be a brawl hero. It's more so, and the only really, like you said, incongruous part to that is the left click. But I don't mind a left click, because having a fully melee character without a shield like Ryan to mitigate damage is tough. It's very tough to, it would be very tough to make that work, because like with her shield remove, she needs to have something that allows her to at least do something mid-range. While Ryan, because Ryan is like, sure, he might not be as strong mid-range, but he has a shield, and you can play him in very particular angles. Because I really don't think Orisa's kit would have worked in Overwatch 2. I think her current design would have been like very disastrous. Goodbye, cat. And it just would not have made, like, if anytime you would have played Orisa, most of the time when I'm seeing how teams are playing on these sort of points where much more bunker style or brawl style comps are being played, Ryan would just outperform her. While this gives her an option to be a disruptor. She can disrupt comps. She can set up engages, which not a lot of tanks in Overwatch 2, I feel, especially because of the current weakness, which we'll talk about, of some of the main tanks, allow teams to currently set up engages, like very, very strong, like ways to actually disrupt the enemy team. So I feel like her direction is pretty nice, but I do think that there's probably going to have to be some adjustments to see like where she gets further. Like, how does she actually become stronger? Because based off our current assessments, then, do we feel Orisa is going to be a strong pick? Someone that you want to play over a Reinhardt? Someone you want to play over a Sigma? No.
I've not seen it, and I've not heard from any pros that would say the contrary to that. Can I just add one more point about Orisa? Sure. Just like, is it wrong to want to have her original archetype exist in the game? I'm not saying she has to be it, but yes. Like, I don't, because here's the thing is like, I like that something, this sounds like travesty, a bunker style exists, because it does give, I don't know, extra variance in the meta. I'm not saying like bunker should be the meta and it should be like the thing that most people play, but I'm also not against it existing. And so kind of killing old Orisa for me means you've kind of killed the bunker style a little bit, when to me I feel like that should be a viable strategy in the game of Overwatch.
I think it can still be viable in the way that Rhine and Sigma still exist with a permanent shield, or semi-permanent, of course. You can have like, you're talking like crazy bunker like Bastion, for example. I don't think you're wrong in not. I don't think you're wrong in going to miss like bunker being a thing, but I think just for the feel of the game, the feel of Overwatch 2 and how it plays and how quick it is, I just don't see any point in time where Orisa from Overwatch 1 would fit in Overwatch 2, because she would just sit in a fucking corner and do absolutely nothing. Whereas every other tank is very engaging in the way it plays. Yeah, arguably, you could argue maybe Sigma's not that engaging, but still he can post up on like an off angle and like accretion and like so his spheres and flux is really fun to use. I just don't think Orisa in the style of the game that they're wanting to push with Overwatch 2, it's just not really a thing. They really want this kind of, or in my opinion, the arena-y FPS kind of style gameplay where everything's got like movement and everything's like super quick and like, yeah.
Because my context to that is the fact that to me it's not just about Orisa, it's about the overall scape of other heroes. Well, for example, I'll bring one up, Ashe, right? Her gameplay is far better when she gets to sit somewhere, post up like a turret, and just shoot. And behind Orisa shield, that's great. Like she loves that kind of gameplay. I'd say in some cases, Torb wants to play in that kind of archetype as well. So when you have a really fast meta where things are just flying around, heroes like Ashe find it hard to be in the meta, right? It's just stuff like that. So, for me, it's not even just about Orisa. I just think like the bunker archetype doesn't have to be most popular. I just feel like it should be at least somewhat more viable than it is.
Right.
And I know
I'm sorry to drop
crazy.
this on you, AVRL, but bunker compositions is the assault maps of compositions. Okay, it had its time. It was fun for a bit in Overwatch.
I don't love it. I don't love it. I'm just saying, like, it'd be cool if it.
The future is now, old man.
The future is
now, and we've said we want to zoom, and we all want to be on ketamine, and we want to go fast. I'm really on a ketamine joke streak, by the way. This is continuing from the co-stream that was happening. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, you know,
the point being, I understand. I think I understand the point that you're making, because you don't want to see stuff be extinct. But Orisa should just go into old Orisa's concept should just go into a museum, and we can look at it and marvel, like, look how it used to be. Remember when we did this? Now it's better.
Good. Wait,
it could be better. It could be better
down the line,
and now we are better. So okay, Orisa maybe not filling all the roles that we may necessarily want to be. Not necessarily looking super strong. May not see like a ton of views currently. Have to see what's going to happen with her and reworks. Another tank that's going to be resigned, and the second rework, Doomfist, aka Doomfist. Doomfist has now become a tank, and he's actually kind of poggers. I mean,
it's really fun.
He's pretty interesting. Can we look at this kit here and go through it, because it's essentially just Doomfist, but he's just more tanky. He's
easier too. I can play him, which is really fun, because if you were a tank player and you're like, oh my god, I have to learn Doomfist, boy, do I have news for you. This is beginner friendly. Like, they just reduced the initial entry level to this to 1500 SR. You have one movement ability, and it's really easy to use, and you can do whatever you want. And the rest is just punch around and
Johnny,
be Doomfist.
2 movement abilities, 3 movement abilities technically.
Can you insert the monkey brain from Winston directly into the Doomfist and just it works? It's plug and play.
Yeah, I mean, the leap is kind of similar. I guess the seismic spam and the jump. I guess that's kind of similar. I didn't
put my
think
monkey brain in Doomfist, and then that's what I felt. I'm like, I'm just gonna insert my monkey brain to Doom and see how it works. And it's kind of good. It was all right. It worked for me.
There is a lot less like you're saying, barrier to enter a Doomfist, where in Overwatch 1, it was you got to remember the animation cancels with the left click and the uppercut and that kind of stuff. And there were all these little bits of tech that you kind of need to know, and you needed to know because you were so squishy that you just, if you get caught out without cooldowns, you just kind of die. I think this Doomfist is another incredible redesign, honestly. I think a lot of people will... I don't know. Okay, maybe not a lot of people, but I can imagine the casual populace being quite frustrated with a hero like Doomfist that can routinely one-shot you, seemingly out of nowhere. I wasn't really frustrated by the hero personally. I enjoyed playing him in Overwatch 1, but I think in general, this redesign is definitely taking a lot of frustrations away from Doom's kit that people maybe didn't think belonged in the game in a shooter environment. Is that a hot take?
But I mean, that's why he doesn't one punch nearly as much now, right? Because they've reduced the damage of it, and but it does get empowered by the block. So that's something what Jack is trying to say there that people don't know. It's when people are saying he's one shotting less, they've nerfed all the damage on it to where he's be much more a disruptor / damage dealer.
If he has a power up punch and he hits you into a wall, and then you get shot in the head, you are dead. That is a lot of damage. But it requires you to get a power up punch, land that hit into the wall. And you can do cool things like that too. The animation cancel on the seismic slam straight up in the air. I've seen a few clips of really good Doom players doing that already. And the Doomfist tech for all you Doomfist enthusiasts out there is quite alive still. You can still diag punch off of things and stuff like that. It's a bit easier to get height nowadays, of course, with the seismic slam just working like Winston leap, but it's still very possible to do stuff. I know Quakedon has got a ton of videos already with Doomfist rollouts and whatnot.
He was probably the best non-Overwatch League Doomfist I encountered and / played with in the alpha.
He is super good at the game.
If you want to see outside of BP's video, if you want to see more Doom, probably look at Quakedon. I look at this hero and I think Quakedon said this as well, but the most true thing I heard about Doomfist was after playing it and seeing it, I can't believe he was ever a DPS. Why wasn't he just a tank from the start? Because everything he does is so tank to me. It just feels like it should be on a tank, because like Connor said, the one shots, most people don't like that. I think the DPS Doom play was super binary in that you either went in and one punch somebody or you just died as well. For the most people, if you're not Sparkle and you're just an average player, your experience is probably one of those two things. You either kill somebody or you just die. So the HP increase, the power block to give you some defense is partially why I think Doomfist feels easy to play in terms of what Johnny was saying, because he's a lot less punishing, a lot more forgiving if you make a mistake. It's like, oh, I messed up. Let me just pull up my glove, wait for my cooldown, jump away or punch away, and I'm fine. A 450 HP or whatever it is. You still have your passive, which gives you shields on damage as well. So everything he was good at, he's still good at. And I think the one shot that he currently has in terms of powering up his glove is very fair to play against, because I don't feel, if I die to that, I don't feel bad about it, because you know that you had to do something to enable the Doom play to do that to you. So there is counterplay available, whereas old Doom was just like, you just instantly die. It's like, oh, okay, well, don't know what I was supposed to do there,
And I think another part of playing against Doomfist, not having the uppercut, like, really makes it so much. No, it's never fun to play against Doomfist, but like, it's one less CC ability to have to worry about if you're like a support or even like a tank and you're playing against Doomfist, and he's like, oh, he's uppercutting you and he's punching you and he's seismic slamming you and he's ulting away. Like, there's so much going on. Just removing that one uppercut ability sort of makes it a bit easier to handle a Doomfist in that regard. So he deals less damage. They really pacified Doomfist. Like, he was just a crying baby, and they just going absolute crazy, and they just gave him,
Wow, that is the most literal definition of pacifying that I've ever used. Someone use an example. It's literally the pacifier, but okay.
They're just like, hey, you just run around, punch a bit over there. You can't really do any, like, you can actually do quite significant damage, like Joel said, but it's not like anywhere like it was before. It's about setting up the rest of the team, being a disruptor, primarily being a disruptor for the team. And it's really interesting how, like, he fulfills the dive role, and it's like, being a wrecking ball or a Winston, kind of like that, but it's its own kind of thing. But it's really interesting because he's obviously so unique in the way he operates, how he punches, like the combo ability, stuff like that, that I think it's going to be very interesting to see how pro players take on this hero, because you're going to have some tank players, they're just naturally going to be like a better Winston or a better wrecking ball. That kind of skills, that kind of mechanical ability will cater better to them. And then you'll have others that just like cater to Doomfist in that regard. So I'm not exactly sure how like a League of Legends kind of meta works, where it's like you have one player who's just crazy at one hero, that it kind of like overpowers the meta, that they're so good on that one hero that they can kind of, hold their own.
Gets banned. If that happens, that hero gets banned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just ban him in draft. Yeah.
Fair enough. That shows how little I know about League of Legends. But I feel like, with this and Sojourn as well, like with this hero redesign, we're moving towards this territory where they're also unique, but kind of fulfill a similar purpose, to where it really empowers like individual ability on some heroes, which is a very interesting direction for Overwatch to go, rather than just like making compositions and you're like, puzzle fit this, this puzzle piece fits here, and like you have to play this hero now.
Yeah, he's very cool. I was actually extremely skeptical when they told me he was going to be a tank at first, because like, how are they going to make this work? And after seeing it in action, it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely a moment where I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I've seen it actually get played, and the way it feels and the way that's meant to be played in the game. And this sort of disruptor style gameplay and this mobile, something that's like a tank that you can feel like you're doing a lot and you can be part of the action, but you're not being punished for being part of the action, is good. I think that's good, because that's something that's really cool to me about Orisa as well in her kit, but it's more active in Doomfist, and he's like looking a little bit stronger, I think, is that you are actively rewarded for getting value in a fight and moving around, and actually making sure you can get out with your life too, which is something that I think other main tanks are going to struggle with, and other tanks are going to struggle with, I think, in Overwatch 2. But then general overall feeling of Doomfist, I think he's pretty strong. I think he's like pretty good. I think he's definitely going to be an extremely fun and interesting tank to watch be played at like the highest levels, and just to play.
He's definitely overshadowing people like Winston right now, who have, the bubble's good at making space, but the cooldowns and how low they are for Doomfist, like, it's why would you play Monkey? Also, Monkey's right click is not that strong, and he uses ammo, so it feels really wonky right now. Doomfist definitely overpowers them, and he has that escapability. I mean, if you're someone like Fearless maybe, and you can juggle people on Winston, you can get like a quick little 5k with a juggle. Yeah, maybe Monkey's quite strong there, but just in general, I think Doom is overshadowing.
I think the Monkey bubble to isolate abilities and damage, I think that's still kind of powerful, and I think Primal Rage is like a good disruptor. I get where you're coming from, but this is sort of like I was hinting at, like, if you're a Winston player and you can't play Doomfist at like a super high level, if you're just going to get shit on because you're not as good as playing Doomfist, even in the Overwatch League level, the option of Winston is still there. And I still think we're going to see Winston play from some players and teams. No, maybe not because strategically they think Winston is better, but because it caters to that team better. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well,
yeah,
I would say that would be a situation where forcing Winston in a dive meta at the exact moment in time now as we starting to debate, Winston to me needs a lot of help to get there. I think right now if you're trying to play Winston to Doom, you're probably just playing the wrong hero. That's maybe quite harsh for me to say, but
no, I think that's a very fair point.
Ball's the same story. I mean, I talked to Gaga and he told me Ball's shit, and I talked to Kushe, he's told me Winston was shit. And Gaga's one of the best ball players. Kushe has historically been one of the best Winston players. These guys are just telling me these heroes that they main at, the best in the world at, are just not good, and they're playing Doom instead. So that's the current state of dive tanks in Overwatch. I mean, more patches might need to come on through to adjust that. I know Doom's had some changes over the course of the alpha, and maybe more changes still yet to come. But I mean, a lot of because here's the thing about tanks, right? You only have one position available, so that one position, that one tank you play has to do the most and cover the most, and there's no room to be playing like off picks anymore. Like it's hard to fit in things that are not like, oh, here's the tank. If you're not playing the tank, you're just playing something strictly worse, right? Because there's only one of them. Is the current sentiment I'm seeing and getting.
Yeah, I think that's extremely fair. So Doomfist pretty strong. Very I was skeptical, was actually fits in really well. He's got a really strong kit currently at the tank level. Is someone you're probably going to see a lot of comparatively to like Orisa. And even comparatively to the new hero, when you talk about like other stuff that's new to Overwatch 2, like Sojourn might not be seen as much as like some of the things. But I actually there's a list that someone made on competitive Overwatch that we can cut to, Kirk, and it's like the collated tier list. It's like the cumulative tier list. If they've averaged out every person that's made a tier list of the current heroes and their current state, and it's like then they've ranked them based off their meta, like their current meta, and like how strong they think they are. And they've taken it from everyone. It's like from you, Jaws, Custa.
I didn't include mine. It's fake. No, it's fake.
Did not include yours? Okay, well, it didn't include Avril, so I'm sorry, but like, we should take a look at that because I think it's really interesting when we have this discussion of like when we get the overall sentiment of all these public lists of what the meta is.
Is meta at the same time.
Yeah.
Connor,
yeah.
What is going on here, Connor?
Not false. Not
first of all. Lucio is the best hero based off the current list, and guess how many teams don't have a fucking main forward? By the way, Violet rolling out the Lucio, holy Pepe pains. Like I don't know. Like I'm looking a little.
That's gonna be a good one.
We take a look at this, and we see this list here. Are there any surprises? To me, like immediately, like I said, Lucio, best hero in the game. I definitely saw it early, and I'm like, I was like, holy shit, like Lucio's gonna be really good. Any other surprises or like weird outliers?
I'll address the elephant in the room. No one knows why Genji is that far up, but he is. I mean, I have some.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah,
but he's way up there. He's having no changes, but he's like boom right at the top. I had him in my S tier. If my specific tier list had Genji with Soldier and Lucio in that S tier, those three heroes.
No, I think actually I would have put like Genji as like good, but like you can't diminish or dismiss how good Nanoblade is. Like Nanoblade is really powerful as it stands. So I think that's part of the reason. Obviously, he's a bit of an ult kind of revolving hero, and so having that Dragonblade with the Nano is really good. Supports, they be able to support ultimates slower, so there's going to be less ultimates to prevent his Dragonblade from being effective as well. So it's weird, but he's up there.
Wow, someone has a NASCAR driving.
Sorry. The outside of my apartment's quite busy. I'll try and mute when that comes on. But there's one small. I put Mei higher just because Fortnite ability. I think just in general, Mei is very good on things like university and places where you can get almost instantly deleted. It doesn't really matter too much when you're playing a lot of dive, Lucio, and obviously going by this list, Soldier, Tracer, Genji, like all doesn't matter all too much. I would definitely say Mei. Obviously, this is a correlated tier list, so yes, it's everybody's tier list. But personally, I put Mei a little bit higher just because of that fact. But yeah, honestly, looking at this list, it's looking pretty good to me. This is how
it's an honest list. It's a pretty honest list. I mean, look at it.
One thing, Reaper's too high. He got busted nerfed. Like he got hella nerfed.
Yeah, he did get nerfed. So like I think this is kind of some old news stuff, but to me, when I look at this, interesting enough, outlier Lucio, and so many teams banked on double flex support meta.
Yeah, it's pretty
and
sick,
like
actually.
Lucio is like, but it kind of made sense. And when you look at a lot of this, especially like the Genji stuff, right? It's like, why should Genji be good? I think of this from like, well, there's less peel now, so there's less stuff to fuck up Genji, like with one less tank. And in addition to that, because you have so many different disruption options and you're so many different ways to approach and set up a fight, heroes like BAP, which as you see are in the average tier collated generally, and like Zenyatta, which has trance, are just not as strong in terms of countering Genji. And Genji can just get a lot more value, especially with like Nanoblade combos. Like, so that's what
just
to me. Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough, I think, for supports, is when you look at this list, do you see like Moira and Lucio, very mobile support heroes, which I think to me is my one biggest concern as we look at like these lists and our feelings, is like, how are we going to make support feel good? I think right now it's like okay-ish, and I'm glad Lucio's back. I'm fine with Lucio being meta forever, honestly, because I think Lucio is just a fun hero. But it's just something to think about, I think, when we look at that. And I was also surprised Ryan was so good, and D.Va, when I was like looking at what my predictions were before coming into the alpha.
Lucio good equal Ryan good. Like, that's the...
Well, he's still only good. That's why I think he's at the bottom of the good category, because I feel like he's a very niche alongside Reaper still. Like, there are moments where you're only in a niche.
I can tell you why Ryan's good. The armor change coming through is humongous for Ryan. The 30% damage reduction to all sources when you have armor. Like, amazing for Ryan. So good for Ryan.
Yeah.
They also nerfed both D.Va and Zarya at various points in the alpha, which pushed Ryan up the field a little bit.
True.
And a lot of teams
and Doom pushed up Doom.
Yeah, and a lot of teams were very wanting to push like a brawl kind of composition up, and they were playing Zarya in the brawl. So Zarya completely destroyed any chance of Ryan. And I won't say who, but there were definitely some Ryan players upset by that locally in private. But then Ryan became meta once Zarya got a little bit nerfed and the whole armor thing came through. And now Ryan is really good, obviously because of Lucio as well. So yeah.
I will say, I think this is primarily like a ranked kind of tier list, you know, as it relates to
Sure, and this is just an average, right? This is
it's just an average graph. Absolutely, just an average graph. But as it relates to like Overwatch League, I'll say it again, and you know, Jaws is a doubter, but maybe that was about rank play. I think we're going to see some Widowmaker being played, because there are some insane Widowmaker players, and only having one tank, one shield. You know, in ranked, if you insta-lock like Widowmaker, like get out of my games. I might.
Do you want to talk about the Widowmaker change real quick?
In pro play, I think there's
the 200 HP Widow now.
Yeah,
pop champion.
She got her HP back.
Yes, she's returned her HP, which is fine. I don't even. I think that's going to make her better, but I don't know if it's going to solve it. I don't want to spend like a lot more time on this topic though, because we have a lot more to get through.
We have a lot to get through.
Take a look at the general
every time we bring up Widowmaker, Avast wants to move on. That's what.
Well, it's not. It's just because of the fact that we have so much shit to talk about, you know. And like, it's just, and also I just hate Widow. I hate Widow too. Let's move on then. So on top of all this stuff about lists and like, like what's happening? Like, are we ready to do beta? We got beta information. And trust me, beta information, that's not just like the name of my biography, okay? It's not just beta information. It's also...
You had that one cooking for a
I had that one cooking. It's also about Overwatch 2 beta and how you can get access. So the way they're going to be doing this is that it's going live on the 26th, which is based off to this date. I mean, I'm going to date it's like tomorrow. It starts to go live and people can play, and it's closed.
If you're watching us today,
if you're watching us today, it would be tomorrow. Yeah, if we release it this night before 12, then yeah, sure. But there's going to be actually a drop system too. A drop system, which we all wanted so badly, but it only lasts for 1 day. So I'm confused about that. They've been doing some weird things where they're like, this is a really good idea. We're only going to do it for 1 day. And I'm like, I don't know why. It was like, you can have just a treat of good ideas, just a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah. So I don't get it.
I don't get why it's only 1 day.
Am I the only one who's like, I think we all kind of expected maybe some kind of like Valorant beta kind of thing. And
like,
this is
like, actually know the reason. I just don't know if I'm
kind of glad that it's not like
if you know the reason, you should say it. And you know, who cares about contracts or NDAs? Also, don't say it though, because it might screw you. So maybe don't say it.
Okay.
But I do think that like,
I'll tell you
maybe
later.
there's a reason. Maybe I'm uninformed. Maybe there's a reason behind it, and I can just complain about.
Yeah, there might be a real reason, but it's still unfortunate.
I'll DM you later. Yeah,
tell us all the juice, and we won't tell you guys. You're not gonna learn, so don't let me.
At least there's apparently there's a reason, which I'm happy about, because I was a bit confused. Like even how much you hated the Valorant drop system. If you despise that, which I by the way did, it worked. Like, it was effective marketing, and their category popped off for like 2-3 weeks or whatever it was. And this is going to be a big event for Overwatch. Like,
for approximately 1 day.
For approximately a few hours.
Day of Overwatch ever.
Yeah. But the one good thing the one thing to add on to that though is that they release information to get keys, to get the drops. But is that you have to watch 4 hours of someone that has dropped in their stream, and there's a bunch of them. I don't think this is the updated one because I'm in this list too. Okay.
I'm in that as well. Me,
Connor, and I.
I'm the only one.
We are there. Oh, we're next to it. There we go.
We're right next to each other.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I'm
not in it.
No, you're not in it. You're not important. So the point being here is that you can watch any of these streams that have drops, and you can get, if you have 4 hours of watch time total, you can get drops, guaranteed beta access, which is nice because it says like you spend the time, you will get guaranteed beta access, which I do think is a nice thing for people that complain about only watch in the past, and like even the drop system with Valorant is that there was no like real formula, it felt like at times. So like now you have a guaranteed, you can hit 4 hours, you're gonna get beta access. So overall thoughts on like the rollout, because I think the beta, how long is the beta gonna last? Like, is it like 2-3 weeks?
Until May something. They said until May something.
Yeah, and then it's gonna go offline.
May 17th.
I can't remember how long. Did they say how long it's going offline for? I can't even remember that.
Probably 1 day.
One.
No.
One day. One day.
I'm kidding. No.
A single day.
No, I'm joking.
Another year.
Another year. Wow. Oh, there it is. We had until, and then we don't actually know when it's gonna go live. It seems like we don't know what's going to happen for like the next portion, but we know how long it's going to last.
Hopefully it'll open up back, who knows, but
maybe it's hopefully just they're just going to pull.
I'll be surprised if it doesn't open up back up, but yeah.
No, they said there's multiple beta phases.
So there are. We just don't know when the next. I don't think we know when the next beta phase begins. Is the big thing, but we just know how long this one lasts. We understand the parameters for getting in. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm just perplexed why we only get 1 day of drops, but I'm overall relatively happy with the system. An agreement?
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely. I think the Valorant beta situation was just, oh gosh. Like, yeah, a lot of people got keys, but I think I'd rather have it this way where it's just like watch time and then, people end up getting it. And dude, I can't imagine the amount of bot accounts that were created for the Valorant event specifically. I remember in Bren's stream specifically, there was like a list of exactly the same names with just numbers after them, like Valorant key bot beta 1 or something stupid like that. So I'm glad, like, and in general too, like you think of all the big streams that are on here, XQC, like I'm sure Tim is on there, Tim the Tapman and whatnot. So everybody's gonna get in. Basically, if you're not watching the beta, then yeah, you're not going to get in. But 4 hours, like if you really want to, whack on your other monitor, play some other games. You know what I mean? Like I think this is the fairest possible way of doing it.
I like the transparency because the Valorant one was just all RNG. Like you could get it and you could get it very quickly, or it could take you like,
or you could get
a long time. Yeah, and yeah, it was just really weird. And the other thing is my tiny gripe with the Valorant beta as well is that it was actually region restricted. Because Wright loves to shit on small regions, so with OCE didn't get in day one. It's just the truth. And I had to get an NA. Don't tell Wright this, not that I care, but I had to get an NA account to even be eligible for the Valorant beta. Whereas at least the Overwatch 2 beta here, like everyone can get it, as far as I'm aware.
It's on your account, yeah.
How ironic, given how successful the smaller regions were at VCT this past weekend.
Yes.
Well, awesome to see, by the way.
This is the
Overwatch podcast.
All right, so now let's talk Valorant. Now that we've talked about
Overwatch. Bring Sideshow on.
Yeah, now we can bring it back. So overall, though, beta stuff, you have the info. It's starting the 26th. The drops day is going to be the 27th. It's going to run for like what was the date again? May till May 17th. And then it might come back. Probably will. Probably will be no more beta phases after that. So then now let's move away from like Overwatch 2 stuff. Let's get into like the old nitty gritty. Let's get into esports, and specifically about esports and tier lists and stuff, and comparing things like you would. Let's talk about the talent, the 2022 Overwatch League talent, because we have to just compare everyone and talk about who I don't like or who I do like. So let's have the list here of the talent that make it 2022, because some of them we might know their faces. We might know some of their faces, Kurt. If we bring up our list here. Because honestly, we need a graphic.
I didn't give Kurt a link for this.
Oh, you didn't give Kurt a graphic?
It might have been.
I'm scrolling. I can find it. I'm just scrolling.
Okay, Kurt's finding it. Well, pretty much.
It's pinned on my Twitter, Kurt. It's pinned on my Twitter.
Yeah, go to AVRL's Twitter. Go to AVRL Twitter, because I mean he's just so supportive of his friends that he's himself is on the Overwatch League for 2022. But
oh, look at that! Hey, if you scroll up really quickly, you'll see that Kurt doesn't follow me.
Wow.
Whoa!
That's the Plat chat account.
It's Plat chat. They will only give that to a couple.
Yeah,
I'll forgive you, Kat.
We'll look at a couple people. So look at this list, huh? I like all these people. I think they're all quite good at their jobs.
I have one gripe. Connor is on this list, and that makes me angry.
Well, I'm there's a whole story related to that. You know, we can't talk. I've been the K-hole. Ketamine, it just ruined my life. But
the ketamine jokes. What's going on about?
It's just
what has Florida done to you, man?
It just popped up in the past couple of days. But I think this is a great list. I'm very happy with this. We kept pretty much like there was a lot of rumors like, oh, like who's not coming back, who's coming back. I noticed that Jaws, you've created the most dramatic rendition of any talent photo I've ever seen in my life.
I needed a new one. I submitted the one, so we had to submit on the form like you did your photos and whatever, and I submitted with me. It was me and Hex at the homestand in Washington when we did the skit where I was dressed up as like an old English person with tea, and I had the powdered wig and stuff, and then he came in and flipped the tray. I submitted that one, and the other one they chose the dramatic one. Which is fine. I like it in contrast to Mitch's one, where he's holding the flip flop. I did actually have one where I'm holding McVitie's like British biscuits on my ear, and I thought maybe not.
I like that Cusses' his Valiant profile picture too. But overall, a lot of dirty faces. Johnny, of course, coming back. Jaws, AVRL, or Persa.
Is that for World Cup, Johnny?
Yeah, it looks like World Cup.
2019.
Yeah, my photo's old enough. I'm still wearing glasses.
Oh yeah,
you look a lot more. You look more erudite.
I had this exact problem because we were in COVID for like 2 years. That like there were no up-to-date photos of me, so it was like that photo or like 2018 Johnny, and let's not show 2018 Johnny. So there you go, 2019 Johnny it is.
I did in my announcement video.
The 1 year difference, Johnny. The 1 year difference, huh?
The rogue Johnny trying to dunk a basketball.
We've also got a lot of new faces here too. I mean, Jaws are with Necro. We've had Leg Day and Lemon. Leg and Lemon, they've been grinding contenders. Trid, my boy Trid. My boy Trid, he's made it. Partnered with Vicky, and so like there's been some swap-ups, but a lot of new faces in the league.
Grassroots,
grassroots esports pipeline. Any pipeliners? And I'm always happy to see people that are contributing and have been working very hard in our tier 2 scenes getting recognized, and getting some opportunity, which is like when you look at Lemon and Leg Day and Necra, like the Entrid, these are all people that have been, and of course AVRL, but you've already been here before. Like it's not your first year, so I'm not going to acknowledge you. You get enough acknowledgement, so that's fine. But overall,
it's good to bring Seth up from tier 2 as well.
Yeah, great to bring Seth up from tier 2.
My favorite tier 2 caster, Kilios.
Yeah. So it's cool. I'm glad everyone's here. There's really not much else to say. It's kind of just I'm like bat chesting over the talent announcement. Like it's just like I'm glad to see that we're seeing some more tier 2 people involved and like people that have been involved in the scene for a long time. I think that's overall healthy. It's healthy for your talent scene for people to get opportunities in general, to make more money and things like that. So yeah, that's just the talent stuff. So let's move on to now specifically competitive side Overwatch League. There's a report, there's a rumor, it's circulating.
Bren is not here anymore. We can do rumors of us.
We can do rumors. Well, the thing is, I'm still 50-50 on rumors, but this rumor I'm willing to go on because it kind of there's if we did some technical analysis. If we did some TA, if we looked at the graphs of the stock, which Johnny worships, he worships the stock market, of course, we would see that this perhaps it's backed up. Chengdu potentially looking to release a lot of talent, potentially a lot of people moving around because of money issues, because of various COVID / Chinese government related policies and just like overall cost. What do we think about that? If they were to lose a lot of people, because they've already released Ray. Ray is gone. He's no longer part of like the honorary advisor, because all these Chinese workers also have so many bullshit roles.
And a couple of others, right?
So many people. Yeah, I think. Well, I know Ray's definitely gone. I think an assistant coach.
Treed and J-Field are both gone.
Yeah, Treed and J-Field.
Oh, J-Field. Yeah, what a tragic departure that was.
And then there's potential rumors that they're going to be shopping around like the players that are looking for other options, like Leave and most notably, but like really a lot of them. There's a lot of players that are looking, like pretty much everyone's on the table of like shopping offers potentially. So looking at that, what would a potential Chengdu roster that's budget look like? And where are those players that are looking to not be budget go? Maybe
I can tell right now there is they want to go down to a 6-man roster. That's all but been confirmed. And they want to basically remove two out of 4 supports, which actually is kind of makes sense.
Pretty reasonable.
4 supports seems a little much, I get it. You can get rid of 2 of them.
Wait until you hear about Boston's 3 tanks.
No, please don't. Please don't.
That's a really good one.
They are potentially looking to also shop Leave off the team, and I think that's something they very much want to do. Not because they don't want to keep him; they would love to keep him, but he's easily their most expensive player, and their parent company Huya is having a lot of financial troubles, as Avast was talking about. So one of the biggest costs on the team is Leave, and so they want to cut him because they want to cut costs. So Leave's being shopped around quite seriously.
God, if Leave's not in the league, man. What a devastating.
No, I've heard that other teams have already taken interest, so there is interest.
Thank God.
Quite a few teams have taken interest.
Where do we want it to go?
Crazy.
Do you want to go there, AVRL?
Do we want to get into that discussion now?
I mean, sure. Let's discuss if,
not?
let's say we were to get rid of some of the Chengdu supports, because the current Chengdu support line, like, they have Evital, Nisha, and Far Away, and then also
And
Monk. So, like, let's say of those players, and of course Leave, who's the most likely to depart? Because Leave, you're saying to shop around. Who are the most likely supports to depart? And where would these players then, including Leave in the sports, go to? Let's talk that.
I believe there was some streaming announcement that included Nisha, Farway, and Jinmu. So if anything, if you were to really look between the lines and look for clues, those might be 3 plays that are remaining on the roster, which means Yveltal Monk is potentially gone.
Monk being gone is crazy.
Yeah, Monk's cracked, bro. That's
I actually got to double check that information to make sure I'm not capping. But
I thought they'd keep
second.
Monk out of all the supports, dude.
But Yveltal is a 2-way, so that, you know, you can kind of.
No, Chase is dead. There's no more Academy. Academy's gone.
Yeah, they resolved. The Chaser is done.
Fair, but yeah. Of course, the Chaser is gone. I was just thinking maybe like he's first on the chopping block because he's not like a full. It didn't have a full contract, unlike Nisha. And there were those issues last playoffs as well with him watching anime and really enjoying anime. So maybe that would lead to Yveltal being gone.
That should, I mean, if you enjoy anime, you probably should be off the team.
Yeah. Get out. Absolutely. Get out. No, but there were some issues with him, you know, playing in the roster, etc. with that. And so maybe he'll be kind of first on the block. Like if they kept Nisha, I'd be happy. I'm a Nisha stan. I'll be the first one to admit. I really like Nisha. And if he was the full-time main support of this team, maybe, you know, there's some cruxes with that. But I'd really enjoy seeing that. So wouldn't be against it.
Okay. And then teams, though. But what teams do they go to? Like, where would a Leave go to because I would imagine it's probably going to be another roster, like another Chinese organization.
Yeah, I mean,
have
Sparks love picking up 70-man rosters. So
what? I have a few landing positions that I've worked out. Spark is actually one of them, and it's not because they want a huge roster. If you actually look at the financials, Billy also lost $1 billion last year, so who knows about that? But the reason why I say Spark is not because it would increase the cost. It wouldn't cost them more. They have the fat to trim off because they got a huge roster. They just cut a few players. If you cut 2 to 3 players and allocate their salaries to Leave, you can finally afford 1 Leave. You know, remove 3 players, add 1 player, and then that's Leave. That's all that Spark would have to do to get Leave. So that's one potential option. I think APAC would be an obvious place because he gets to stay in China. Maybe the whole logistics thing with visas would be too difficult for Leave to leave China. So one of those teams, Guangzhou, could be a possible landing spot because they have a very bare roster, and all they would need to do is somehow find the money to get Leave, and they're not tied to streaming. I believe Guangzhou is owned by traditional sports in China, so they're not tied to some sort of streaming thing, which has been hit hard in as far as Chinese businesses. So they could potentially do it. I mean, I could see Moon on Shanghai just doing it just to screw other teams. Just like, I'll take him just to stop you from getting him. And you know, just a casual triple DPS MVP line of Flitter, Leave, and Lip might just be a little bit good. You know, Shanghai could probably afford it too. I actually looked at one NA team that actually seemed reasonable, and one NA team that there's a couple NA teams that seem reasonable as well. Lads would probably be willing to drop money, but who knows if they want to go through that process. Define is a team that loves to drop money as well, so they could potentially look to do that. They also don't have Aldo currently. I mean, it's possible just because you have to look at financials as the main thing, and who's willing to wait for people as well. Yeah, teams like that mainly is who I'm looking at as landing spots because most teams probably can't afford Leave. So you have to look at the teams with decent financials or teams where it logistically makes sense.
Okay. So there has to be a big money spender more than likely. I mean, to me, a Chinese org makes sense because he'd probably want to remain within China, and also because of continuing like COVID-related policies, it's probably still pretty hard to get a Chinese player, I imagine, out of China still currently. but I'm not exactly sure on that, so don't quote me. But I know that there are currently like various policies in place that are making it kind of interesting, related to all sorts of those logistical moves. But Leave could go to a big spender team, and would he? And more importantly, even if Leave were to go there and place a team, we know probably every team we go to get instantly better. What would a Chengdu without Leave look like, though? Would a Chengdu without Leave, would it still be a team that we're like, ooh, this team's good? Like, let's say theoretically it was like a team of like Gaga.
If they lose
Chengdu,
Leave,
you know,
they're worse than Hangzhou. They're worse than Philly. They're probably competing with like Guangzhou and Valiant. They're probably might even be worse. Like, I don't, Jinmu is good still, but I significantly drops my expectations of that team without Leave. That's just how it is. It's a DPS game, and he was so crucial to that team, in my opinion.
Okay, so it would make them mid.
I think so.
That's not mid. That's like bottom. Mid is like Philly.
Really? You think like, even if they kept the core of like, let's say they managed to keep Gaga like far away, Nisha, and then Jinmu and what? Like,
that's definitely mid. That's not bottom.
Is that bottom? Is that really bottom?
That's bottom. That's mid. That's mid. Yeah.
I still think someone like Fusion, like with their DPS duo.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm open. I am definitely open to the idea of Chengdu losing Leave, making them a bottom tier team, because I feel like so much of their strategy is revolved around it. I'm open to the idea.
Than Valiant and Guangzhou.
I'm open to the idea, but there's no way they're going to be worse than those two teams.
They're better than those guys.
Yeah, I feel like they would probably still be mid, worst case scenario. But I'm open to the idea just because I feel like it's tough to imagine their identity without him. It's tough to imagine their identity without Leave, like what they do.
When you said, oh, I could see them, I like to see them become a bottom tier team. In my mind, I just went straight to, here we go. Avast is trying to antagonize Chengdu again. This is his character.
Well, it's mostly I simply don't know. Like, I don't know a good Chengdu without Leave, right? And that's the thing. It's simply the fear of the unknown. Like, I just learned that when two black holes merge, they could send a larger black hole out into the universe, and it could instantly kill us in the past by our solar system, right? So that's like Chengdu losing Leave. It's like two black holes merging, and it flings out at a fraction of the speed of light, and it could kill us at any moment. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean,
you want to know what two black holes merging? Two black holes merging is Andy Miller coming out like, I got a bit of a budget for Leave. Let's bring him on the shock. That'd be two black holes merging.
Christ, that would be crazy. That would be absolutely. I would love for an out of left field signing where Leave enters on like an NA roster. It would
Vancouver
be really fucking cool. Okay, not that one. Not that one. No. I'd be way cooler like some other rosters. Like maybe other rosters. But
look,
like,
if Atlanta's willing to wait like half a year for Speedly, someone's willing to be like, oh, it'll take an extra however long to get Leave over, but it might be worth it. He is
just get Duolingo, bro.
Just get Duolingo.
Just get sponsored by Duolingo.
No, we're not even sponsored. We're just ad reading for them for no money. So like, okay, so.
I think Hangzhou is the most likely destination, right? Not the most likely, but the most exciting hypothetical. Because I listened to Tactical Crouch, and I heard that you guys brought up the Shy and Leave DOO potential, and it just got me giddy. It just got me giddy. It was like, it makes sense. They're a Chinese franchise. Maybe drop a few players. You have too many anyway. Maybe you don't need Pineapple if you have Leave and Shy. Like, it's too good of a hypothetical.
3 tanks, Johnny. You talk about Boston 3 tanks, Hangzhou Spark have 3 tanks. They don't need 3
what
tanks.
What is Bernard
they can
doing
drop somebody.
What is two other tanks doing there? Like, come on now.
They have players to cut to make space for Leave. It is possible.
Absolutely.
Like, it's extremely too many players.
So there are. So you don't think it would be essentially possible to go to like Charge? I feel like Leave a Charge is like.
I did say Charge.
Yeah. But it seems like everyone's saying Spark is the most likely, but as if Charge is like out of the.
I think Spark's most likely because they already have a history of just having a bazillion players.
Well, I mean, my argument is they wouldn't have bazillion players. They would be cutting players.
Reduce the roster.
So the reason I say Spark instead of Charge is because Charge would have to find extra money. Spark don't have to find extra money. They just have to reallocate the current money that they have.
True. That's fair enough. So I mean. It could be a really interesting landscape within the Chinese Overwatch scene, because where Leave ends up and what happens with Chengdu. Realistically, Chengdu without Leave is definitely not top tier anymore. But unless like they just get their shit together pretty significantly, which it would be interesting because I don't feel like their history is relied pretty heavily on him. But somebody to keep an eye out for and watch out where you might land if they leave Chengdu and things like that.
For sure.
Now, on the less poggers, actually, I mean, I guess Chengdu dissolved because of monetary problems is also not poggers. But also or I guess it is poggers, but I don't understand with this next topic. London dropped Provide. London has dropped Provide. There was a second scandal that sort of came out. Shockingly enough, someone that says vile, hateful slurs also has other things going on. So this is they announced recently that Provide they had parted ways with them, and they're actively looking at some other flexport options. There's rumors circulating about like players like Landon or potentially like Luke Mino,
Landon
maybe. Yeah, there's some options there. But looking at this, I think my biggest takeaway from this is, why was he on this roster? Why was he on this roster to begin with?
I need to interject for one real quick thing and just backpedal because I got one piece of information wrong. Oh. The whole Chengdu thing was actually Farway, Yveltal, and Jinmu were potentially rumored to be staying. So that means Nisha and Monk are not. It's Farway, Yveltal, Jinmu. Sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny.
That's anyway, fair. Continue. I mean, the intro here is just it's that, but also more so. I personally, to put my own face on this, is that I'm okay with some people are like, we need people to reform. We need to give chances for people, second chances for people, especially super young, closeted gamers that oftentimes don't understand the hurtful actions that they do and don't really have a full grasp of the context of what they do because they're just basement dwellers. I'm okay with that. It's like when I look at like Kaluj, right? I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I think he's done some toxic things, but it was necessarily, I don't feel like it was nearly as heinous as some of the stuff I saw from Provide, who's also an adult, a very much an adult when these things occurred. So I was very much against this pickup from the beginning. And now with this dropping of like, because a second scandal came out and they're like, okay, it's not worth it. Like, we're going to look for someone else. Like, we just can't keep them on the brand. To me, when I look at this, is your reaction, was this London making a mistake going for this pickup to begin with?
I mean, I think so. I think that there's a difference between Provide and Kalush. I'm not like, if you make any kind of mistake whatsoever, like you're instantly just like banned, shouldn't be picked up for the for league. Like I'm not on that. Obviously, there's gray areas. There has to be context behind what happened. In the case of Kalush, even like it was rumored that he did things that he didn't actually do, which affected the community perspective and what people thought about Kalush as a player, etc. Now, don't get me wrong, did some bad things, okay? Did some really bad things that deserve to be investigated and looked into before he was finally approved. When it comes to Provide, like, to me, it was like across the line. My personal opinion was like, it's probably across the line. This is not really someone that, if I was the GM of London Spitfire, I would not have chosen to pick up Provide or Slur as he went by. If I was the commissioner of Overwatch League, which thank God I'm not, I wouldn't have
one day
probably one day, maybe like 20 years. I'm the only one left in this community. I wouldn't probably have approved of this signing, because just personally, my view is like it crossed a certain line in this case. But I can, if you want to expand on that topic and be like, well, I do think that there is a place for redemption within the Overwatch League if you've done some things that are a bit milder, perhaps, because it deserves to be said, like, if you've done some pretty bad things that reflect poorly on you, you're not going to have like a lot of fans. You're not going to have a great experience engaging with the community and engaging with fans in that regard. But that could also be a chance for redemption, proving that you have changed your mind, proving that you are a different person and that you changed your perspectives and your actions. Most importantly, you get like a bit of an inspection onto your actions to see if you really are a changed person and see what you can actively, engagingly contribute to community and contribute to people who partake in the community and are looking for some kind of fun interaction with the community. What can you do for those people that spend their time watching you play and spending time interacting with you and being invested in teams like that? That could be a path of redemption for some of these players who have messed up in the past. But as it relates to Provide, I think from the first place, it was a little bit across the line for me, what I was willing to accept for a player in this situation. And it's just like devastating, really, to see some of those screenshots like between him and this younger woman. It was just like, because we've had this a few times now in the Overwatch scene, and every time it's just like so disheartening, and it's like, what the fuck do we do about this? And like, you try to think about like what could possibly happen. Like, do we have to like have meetings like with these players? Like, there does need to be like a kind of an education in place. But like, this is stuff like before he was even part of the Overwatch League. This is, I don't know exactly his contenders trajectory and what that looked like for him as a contenders player, but like, is it feasible for all contenders players to have some kind of like formal training with this kind of stuff? And like, that's like not even Overwatch responsibility.
Johnny, the formal training.
Just
the formal training is you look at scandals like this happen, and the other tier 2 players should look at it and be like, oh, that should be that's not enough warning for you.
So insane that it just keeps happening. Now, this was a couple of years ago, right? I don't know what exactly.
Yes, it was. Most of this was. It was the same time of his.
But still, like, what the fuck?
It was 2 years ago, but he was very much an adult. He was like 20, 21, somewhere around there.
It's like 20 or something, yeah.
Yeah, and like definitely an adult. It was, but still 2 years ago. This is stuff.
It's frustrating that we can't do anything. Like, this is just who they are. I'm like, fuck.
Well, Johnny, we start getting into like original sin and like what, free will and shit at that point. So I mean, a little bit beyond our scope then. So okay, maybe not.
I'm sad of asking this.
I know you're sad. I know, and I feel like there's no point even touch that too much because I'm sure we're all in agreement with that. Honestly, let's then move beyond this a bit. Where does London go from here? Who do they get? What are some of the best options for this team moving forward?
What about the rumor? You heard about the rumor?
I mean, I've heard the Landon rumor.
Landon London.
I have heard that.
Landon London.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that their best option though? Whatever happened to I mean, isn't there a Lucamino? What's going on with that guy? What's going on with that guy?
I like Lucamino. I don't know why he's not on the roster. I don't know anything about Landon.
Flex supports that are available.
No. You don't want a European one because then you have to deal with the visas.
Oh, visa. That's right. And they're going to be based out of NA anyways, correct?
So you have to get an NA one.
Yeah, you want a North American one. Yeah, and so a North American player would make the most sense here. So probably a Landon, a Lucamino. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how many other really in North American flex sports that are available that would be able to play for this team other than those two. That are considered good enough. But it's probably just because my overall, like, I have like general knowledge, but it's been a while. I've been doing a lot of shit. I can't remember everything. So if there's any other names on the list,
you don't cast NA contenders anymore, Connor?
No, I don't. And also, I do my best to keep up with it. But when you're covering like 3 different games and having a full-time job and all this other shit, it's hard to like remember everything. I know people get really mad. It's like, why doesn't he remember every single fact that's ever happened in the history of the universe? I'm like, well, I don't. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. So would those then replacements, let's say the Landon rumor works out, or maybe even Luke Mino, right? Either of those two, would they fill that gap that Provide was, like, player-wise, pure skill-wise? Would they fill that gap? Would it make this team more exciting in any way, or would it be less exciting?
I think Provide was one of like the last pieces I think of when I think about this team. Literally, he might have been when I thought about London Spitfire going into the season. I'm actually quite optimistic about London Spitfire. I've seen that everyone on Tactical Crouch, they ranked them last. I didn't rank them last. More on that later. But I actually think there's some interesting pieces like Sparker, Shax, of course, is fun to watch. The Tank Linux is exciting. Admiral on the main support role, I think he's an exciting prospect, and I like what I've seen from him so far. So Provide was literally like the last piece I thought of. So I don't really care that he's gone from the roster. Like I don't give a shit.
But then we get a new piece
with a flex support. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a huge downgrade to begin with, in if it even is a downgrade. So I don't think it affects the team too much, quite honestly.
No, I mean, do we have any disagreement there across the board?
No, it's just like a new talent from the NA region. Like, I think there's a lot of players that have not had a chance. So yeah, anybody that's like Lucamino, yeah, bring him up, give him a go. I don't think there's much to say that, it would be terrible pickup to replace Provide, or like it would go the other way. It's like, why didn't they pick up them before? I think anybody that's in that kind of role, especially in a new game, and in the NA scene specifically, you've seen how many players have been brought up already. Like, I think there are a lot of decent prospects overall in NA contenders that have just not had a chance yet. And I think Lucamino and those kind of supports are one of them.
It's probably the only two notable names, right? Because the other person people would say from NA, technically, Uprising Academy, is Simple, but he's too young. Sure. And he's also playing Counter-Strike. So it's just Landon and Lucamino, right? And what's really interesting about this is Lucamino has kind of been passed over by 2 teams. Because Mayhem were obviously in the market for another flex support. Didn't go for Lucamino, went for Kariv. Maybe that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they want to go for Kariv. Maybe that's fine. But then London passing up Lucamino as well for Landon. It is quite interesting. I don't know why. I don't know enough about these players. I haven't watched enough of their gameplay personally either.
No, I don't know either.
But,
to me, Landon is a more interesting prospect, I will say, for London, simply because he's young. He's much younger. He hasn't. I don't think he's had as much time because he's with Solaris currently as his team.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a ranked demon as well. He's kind of a ranked demon. So like, I'm interested in those high mechanical value flex supports and players heading to Overwatch 2 and teams that have like, there's more polishing to be done to that player. But the biggest thing is that I don't know what the hero pool is going to be like because apparently he's like very BAP oriented and there's not as been much Ana or Moira, which are two good, really good support roles heading into Overwatch 2, right? So it's just interesting to see like where that potentially fit, but maybe a new fresh flex support.
I will say for what it's worth, Solaris, they announced their roster 3 days ago for some tournament. And Landon was not on their roster. So and Lucamino was on their roster. So London, as of 3 days ago, does not have a team.
Okay. Well, that's all the screen time we're gonna give London because I'm not excited about them moving forward in the season, but I'm glad that Provide's gone because it was one thing to be potentially the worst team, but also to have the most hated team at the same time. You should pick one. You can be worst but loved. Or not loved but amazing. You shouldn't be both. Generally, you shouldn't.
Are you speaking from experience from season 1 or?
Well, first of all, I have no experience. I didn't think he stage time. So now, moving forward, Exy. I remember Exy. Everyone remember that guy?
Yeah.
Name. He's signed to the Florida Mayhem. They've signed Exy, and this is recently also. It's not on this list, but they dropped. I don't remember if we talked about it, but they dropped Mirror.
They dropped Mirror,
well.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll just combine this into this topic because we haven't talked about this because like Johnny said before we went live, we haven't done an episode in a little bit. So Exy is signed, Mirror is dropped. Thoughts? Do we have them?
Good.
Yeah, Exy. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Exy is an upgrade over Mirror, 100%. I don't think Mirror... it's weird because whenever I think of Mirror, I'm like, wow, the guy that played all 3 roles first, like, whoa. And like the tank and the support didn't really work out for them too well when he was on them. And it felt like they were trying to fill a gap somehow. When he was on DPS, yeah, his hero pool specifically was things like Doomfist. He was more of a specialist kind of player. And he did play those at a very high level. But I think Exy overall is definitely an upgrade in the DPS department. Especially on the hit scan, of course.
Did you make this video, Avast?
No.
This is a great video.
It is a good video. The Mayhem graphic designers are very good. Pop Corp, shout out. Good stuff from them. I think it's pretty exciting. Does it feel like the dropping of Mirror and the pickup of Exy, does it signal maybe a harder hit scan meta that is potentially being anticipated here? Or is it just a reshuffling?
I think it's They didn't really have a hit scan.
Yeah.
But they have a minor, I guess. But
Hydron played
Hydron?
He does play hit scan, but I think he was like a much more of a tracer player, but he did play hit scan as well. So
yeah, Albert released a statement as well, and
he did.
Paraphrasing it, it's basically like they were originally wanting to use Mirror as like an Omega Sigma Ultra Flex that plays literally all the heroes in the entire game. It could fit in anywhere, but I think at some point they realized they didn't need that anymore, and they'd rather be more focused. And this is partially why, if I backpedal to the leave Hangzhou thing as a rumor, as a possibility, is this is a clear example of a team reallocating resources to make space for another player. Okay, we got to get rid of Mirror. His salary can go to Exy, and that's how we fit him in. And here we go. Hit scans look pretty important in Overwatch 2. Sunny Exy gives us additional firepower and hit scan heroes. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. There doesn't need to be a lot of extra explanation for it.
Mayhem and
making moves that
maybe Checkmate cornered him as well. So,
Oh, checkmated him?
Checkmated him.
Nice.
So, it's been a while since we've seen. Exy hasn't really played in a bit, right? Now, if I'm remembering properly, because since the fuel. Yeah, fuel are we expecting him to be just as good as he was? Is this going to be like someone that that's hopefully going to have? And if they are just as good as they are, does this significantly, as they were, I should say, in fuel, is this something that significantly changes the trajectory of Mayhem?
Just by the way, this wasn't the only team he could have been on because there was a rumor that he was going to go Valiant.
Yeah.
So this is the second team that offered him. So there's a market to get Exy back in, is what I'm saying.
So, if he's that good, does it change the trajectory of Mayhem significantly? If they have a very strong hit scan player?
I think so. I think this roster is now a lot more exciting to be. Now, I don't know what the visa situation is for Exy. Like, it might just be a fielder kind of scenario where he just sits from like a room.
I can say from insider information, I think it's like they're expecting to get him within 2 months. Maybe, hopefully within 2 months in the States.
That's not the worst.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, but also not the worst.
And
like, compared to Speedily, it's way better.
Yeah, way better.
So, but I think this roster, there's some elements to it where I'm like, it's kind of stacked. I think Exy and Hydron and Checkmate is like a pretty good DPS trio. I think that Hydron is going to impress a lot of people this year, and you got that long range option with XC to complement that, and Checkmate being like the flex player. Like, I think that's a sneaky good DPS trio. I think that someone who's going into this season, we're like, okay, someone's going to be a good contenders tank coming into this season. And I think the past like week or so, his reputation has just like really gone through the roof. A lot of people are saying really nice things about him in the stock exchange and being excited about him and his potential this year. So I think this team is now sneaky kind of mid-tier good in NA and might even compete with some of the better teams for,
you mean
6-5 maybe?
You mean the fans that ranked Florida 20th place out of 20 are wrong?
There was no one who ranked them 20.
I don't think anyone there were people that put them very low though, but I don't think anyone put them quite at 20. I think that was exclusively resigned for like London still exclusively. But
how many upvotes do those comments have, AVRL?
Who knows?
Let's zoom in.
I remember
these people
maybe
need to be named.
I remember definitely people saying they'd be 13th out of 13 in NA.
Yeah, people think they were going to be. There were some people that think they're pretty bad. Someone is a very interesting prospect though. Someone that's watched. Someone's has watched. As a person,
it begins. I can't wait for Johnny to see how the desk talking about
watched a lot of scrims and talked to the coaches and other players. It seems like he is actually, and and I'm going to lead this into my next point here, more closely related to Mirror. He's really, his mechanics are actually very strong, surprisingly strong for a tank player, and has taken to like Doom like very, very well in particular. So I've been very impressed with someone. Someone is almost more of like the type of what I was expecting, like Super and
Super.
Yeah, no joke. No joke.
You're
no, but I'm not
super.
I'm not. But I'm not.
To
no,
someone.
But I'm.
Florida Mayhem.
You're not letting me finish. You're just starting the outrage.
Okay.
As in, like the flexibility of their hero pool. I'm not necessarily the peak of their heroes.
All right.
The flexibility. He's closer to what I expected, like a Reiner and a Super, to be the flexibility of their hero pools. Not so. I'm not saying the peak of their skill, just how wide their hero pool is. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
I'm sorry. Oh, so
that's all there is. Now that leads me to my second point, because he took up Doom. That was definitely part of the reason that Mirror lost some viability, I think, because like Doom was a very big hero for him. Also, I mean, it sounded like they just weren't finding a better role for him in the DPS pick either. But he didn't have like the Doom pocket pick anymore because someone was picking that up. So the bigger controversy, I think, with the Mirror dropping is it was very close to the season starting. It was very, very close. And as someone that's harped, God damn it, now I'm just stuck on someone. As a person that's harped on this change before, and Albert gave a very clear, concise explanation, and as someone that's close friends with Albert and have talked to him, I understand the reasoning for this from an organizational perspective. It makes sense because you only have two options as a team heading to Overwatch 2 if you find that you have a player that's redundant on your roster, right? You let them rot on your bench, hoping you can maybe trade them, and then their career is potentially just ruined. Or you let them go and hoping they can find another team before the season starts as early as possible, which is what they did here with the information. Because remember, they didn't have the game that early. But my issue with this is a larger issue. It's not even specifically a Mayhem specific issue. It's an issue with Overwatch League contracts in general, is that they've weakened player protection so significantly. They used to be ridiculously strong, and now they're very, very weak, where like the default contract is like 30 days payout when you get released from your contract. Do we feel like that's going to be a continuing issue heading into the Overwatch 2, the Overwatch League season, where players might just be getting dropped because, like, well, we didn't know the game, we don't know how they're going to perform. League starts, we're just going to drop them because like there's no player protections.
I gotta say, I think there needed to be something to help the teams out, because otherwise you have the Dallas Fuel situation where half your team's playing Valorant on the bench,
yes,
and you're still paying them. So you got to prevent that from happening. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty rough on the players. I think the players probably end up needing to have to negotiate themselves a contract where they get more than 30 days. Like, they could even make it 60 days. I don't know, but they can negotiate better contracts for themselves if they have the purchasing power to do so. Not everyone's going to have that. But yeah, more players could be dropped, because what you could be seeing is when the beta actually is open to more people, especially tier 2 players. Once tier 2 players start playing the beta and they start looking good, and contenders or whatever starts up again and the competition is there, you may very well see situations where current players get let go on 30 days and then they get replaced by good contenders talent that just look better once they have the game. It's possible.
Yeah, so I don't like when player... I think it was very ridiculous, like you said, AVRL. The player protections were way too high before, and it was a burden on the teams. The contracts, it just felt like they've been lowered almost to the point where they're essentially meaningless. And like, yes, players can negotiate, but the reality is
somewhere in the middle, right?
The reality is also players can't really negotiate. What bargaining power do you have? Like some players have bargaining power, but the majority of players, especially for rosters that are budget, have no real bargaining power. And that's a lot of rosters, even including maybe Chengdu. So it's like it's a lot of rosters where you don't really have any bargaining power. So that's why I wanted a little bit more middle ground there. And I feel like this particular instance was just tough where it's like if you let Mirror on your bench, everyone's like, why did Mirror on the bench? And everyone's like, just trade him. Forehead, just trade him. Just trade the player. Fucking how many trades have even happened in the Overwatch League? Not that many at all. So
someone has to buy, right? This is the whole thing. Like people are like, oh, Immortals, just sell Valiant for it. It's like, yeah, they are. Like someone has to fucking buy, guys. There's two halves of this equation. Like you want to trade, someone on the other end has to buy.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the best way to go about the contracts in that regard is. But like, wouldn't there be a, I think 30 days is a bit too low, regardless of whether you want to defend the works and the decay situation. But like maybe 60 days is doubling that sounds a bit more reasonable to all parties. But also, wouldn't this is kind of related, not the mirror, but like the decay and Yveltal kind of situation. Wouldn't there peaceably be some kind of like professionality clause where it's like, hey, if you don't like actually commit to practice and like trying to play, wouldn't you be able to like withdraw some kind of salary or something like that? I don't know how totalitarian that is, and like,
I mean, technically they've always had contracts like that, like for cause or not for cause terminations, right? And like for cause is something that's clearly in breach of your contract. So, and that's generally much more lenient where like you've done this, there's a reason we are terminating you that is in direct breach of your contract, like not playing the game, and like you're not going to get as much compensation, if any, upon the release.
Because I feel like there has to be some middle ground where it's not about like cutting a player because they're not fulfilling it, and also not like being able to cut players because they don't fit into the organization plans and the org is trying to save money or whatever. There has to be some middle ground where you can punish a player that has problems with committing to practice schedules and like doing it all for the team and trying to earn their salary without having to cut them. Like that, there has to be some kind of legal framework where you can actually like punish a player while still wanting to retain them on the contract and wanting them to change their mind and meaningfully feel like they can continue to contribute to the organization and their goals as well. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the best choice is in that regard.
I'm gonna sum up that segment as we're not lawyers.
We're not lawyers.
We're not lawyers. That's the end of that segment. So now let's move forward and go looking a little bit more into APAC side of things. The LA Valiant, they have recently added 2 new players to the roster. They've added Ezhan? Is that what I'm saying? Ezhan. Okay, Ezhan, and then also SASIN to their lineup. And Ezhan, I believe, was with Team Challenger, Team CC.
CC.
Right? CC? Yeah.
Shanghai Academy.
That's what it was. There was CC, and then SASIN hasn't played since like 2020 and he was with Spark.
Right?
He played like a show match somewhere recently, but yeah, he played with Spark, and he was an off-take player that never got playtime because you had Rhea. So he just never got playtime. Thoughts on these pickups overall, and does it move the needle for Valiant significantly?
So there was a rumor that Ezhan was going to Houston before they got Merit. There was a bit of a market for Ezhan. Now there's a history between Ezhan and No Hill, the coach at Valiant, because he was the coach of Team CC. Ezhan was also on CC. If you notice the sort of trajectory here between the overlap of Valiant players and CC personnel and players, there's a lot of them. No Hill's kind of doing the moon thing when he's bringing over the best hits and bringing over the people that he knows personally and has worked with personally, so that link makes sense. The SASIN one is a little bit weirder to me. This is one of those ones where, like, if you trust No Hill, you just have to kind of trust the pick. It's kind of wacky that this is the guy they go for, because it's like, was there really no one better, you know? And apparently, if you look at this signing, I guess the answer is no, there wasn't anyone better in the eyes of No Hill and the Valiant. Who knows?
This was a very strange.
It does seem kind of wild. Like, you look at his history, it's like, well, 2020 was the last time he played for Spark, and then didn't play that much, and then 2 years later, it's like, whoa, there he is. I don't know. It just seems really weird, just on the face of it. But I mean, Spark. Valiant. The Valiant. Yeah, I don't think overall it adjusts the dial that much. Gonna be real. I mean, AVRL, you'll have way greater insight on this than I would. But Ezhan on Team CC, you're thinking, well, actually, Shanghai Dragons, they've done a good job of cultivating their tier 2 talent. And a lot of good players have come from Team CC in the past. So you could see this is quite a fairly decent pickup for the team. But I don't think SASIN really moves the needle at all for me.
We covered this in the LA Valiant preview when Josh was here, but the one thing I brought up then, I'll bring it up again, is that SASIN has been at least active on ranked, because on his Twitter, and we looked at this, Kurt brought this up when we did the preview, he's got a bunch of screenshots from recent seasons where he's very high, top 500. So he's been active, he's been playing the game, he's been doing stuff, he hasn't just been asleep, which is at least partially good for him,
Yeah, I mean, actually playing the game is always a good thing. I mean, I remember watching him because he did get some playtime in 2020, and he wasn't particularly stellar in any ways. I wouldn't really say that like he stood out to me over Rhea, but he was like all right. So I look at this and I'm like, okay, it feels like maybe either a player that's been overlooked or just they need a body. They just need a body in there.
I'm on the AVRL part of this where I'm just like, I have full faith in Nohill. Like, do whatever you want. I trust your experiment.
I thought you were about to say I'm available. John, I'm tank play. I'm available. Nohill.
Just like AVRL, I'm available. Okay. Let me know. No, I'm kidding. No, I just have faith in Nohill. Like, if he's like, oh, I want to pick up SASIN for this team, I'm like, okay, let's see what you got. I think the Valiant underdog story, while very attractive from a storytelling kind of point of view, I still think there's some merit to it. I think Nohill is really cooking with gas here in the APAC region, and now he's not going to be able to compete with like the Shanghai Dragons and Seoul Dynasty and stuff like that. But I still feel like they can punch above their weight, and if he wants SASIN, fair enough. Go ahead.
He gets it because no one else wanted him, so there was no competition there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no one else there, then
if he wants SASIN, he can get him.
Well, then let's move on from Valiant. Maybe some interesting signings, some diamonds in the rough potentially. Some players haven't been around a while. Fusion. So first we'll start with the player news, then we'll do like a more general news.
Yeah, sorry, Kurt, I've disappointed you again.
But there was a player signing for Fusion. Belarusia from T1. Belarusia. I do the name because at first I was like, this is I can't say this name properly, so it's gonna roll me if I ever had to say it a lot. But they did get a new tank signing, and also on top of that, they've got a shoulder patch. We'll talk about the shoulder patch secondly. Let's talk about the tank signing. So this now means that Fusion is essentially just T1 plus Carpe at this point.
Yeah.
Which
even
makes
on the coaching line. Even on the coaching line as well.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because T1 is technically their like academy team.
Yeah.
So does this move the needle for them as when we look forward to their season? Is it more exciting? Like when they have a second tank to complement Fury of just an actual main tank player?
I don't know if it moves the needle in terms of their performance because you're probably thinking Fury's going to play anyway. So Belarusia is there for the backup. But when you look at the available I think most people wanted Sato. There was like, oh, the rumor of somebody thought they saw Sato in the background. Maybe they just caught a cheeky half-drunk 2-liter bottle in the background. It's like, oh, must be Sato in the back of like Carpe's stream or something. But it turns out it wasn't Sato, and Belarusia is there. It makes a lot of sense because he is a T1 player. Jin has been collecting all his T1 pieces and bringing them over. And Belarusia was a big part of T1's success as much as the other players were. T1 did super well last year. They actually beat Talent Esports in the playoffs of Season 2 before they had to forfeit due to COVID, and they didn't get to play the rest of their playoffs. And I think they would have been in the finals versus O2, and that's high praise because O2 was such a dominant team last year. You know Proper, you know Pelican, you know O2, you know that team that you should be aware of them, right? So if any team comes even close to O2, that should be exciting. So yeah, all these T1 rookies, I think they're good. I don't know that Belarusia is going to massively improve anything because Fury is the guy for the team, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have flexibility. It doesn't hurt to have a backup.
Okay.
Well, we're actually a bit blessed to have Belarusia join this team because I feel like the Philadelphia Fusion, for the most part of the offseason, they were like kind of like ranked quite lowly. Part of that was because they didn't have a main support. Like for the longest time, just like who are they going to have playing main support for them? Before Fixa got announced even. So I'm just happy they rounded out this roster. Like honestly, because I think the DPS line deserves it with them in 3 assists. Like, I think that's genuinely a big threat to some of the better teams in the APAC region, and being able to round out with more versatility. Now we have an off tank and someone like Belazria. I think that's great for this squad, which really excites me about their prospects of actually making it to some of these tournaments. I think it's absolutely doable with the squad they've assembled here now. So excited about this signing. It helps them out. It makes me happy before the Fusion.
Fantastic. And then more general news. Fusion gets a nice show. They've gotten a beautiful little shoulder patch on there, as shown by Carpe, to honor Alarm. It's nice to see jerseys with, obviously from very tragic circumstance, but with a little bit of character to them. I feel like jerseys oftentimes, their purpose in sports and esports is like you're a giant billboard for your sponsors, but to actually have something meaningful on a jersey, I think adds a lot of value to a jersey and like what it means to like wear it, and also like even to when you're looking at it as merch, potentially. Though I don't know if they're gonna be selling them with the Alarm patch on there. That might not be happening, and I feel like it might be kind of poor taste if you did. I don't know exactly where I land on that, but it's nice to see at least on the official player jersey.
What's Halo saying? Jersey do be busting or something? What's he got there?
Nice.
What do you have in your mind, bro? Jesus, it's like 11 a.m. in Australia, and this guy's already on it.
He fueled up a McDonald's, and he's ready to go. You should have seen him scarf it down before the recording. This man was eating.
Was dedicated. It's good.
I think it's super nice in general.
It's a great little piece to have on there. Only nice things to say about it. Really, it's just good.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, there was kind of just a fluff piece of it, but it was just nice to see something mention Alarm, and I like seeing stuff that's significant added to jerseys and to remember Alarm, because it is still really tragic that he is not going to be in the league this year to watch him play. Well, that is kind of we're gotten to the end. We're gotten to the final segment now. Bren's Player of the Week.
Just make it yours. I'll make
Bren's Player of the Week.
I am an owner of this company. I can make it Avast Player of the Week. It's yours, Avast.
I mean, it can be mine. I feel like that's a wider conversation. I think it's kind of funny for the time being because Bren is not here and is in Iceland and was simply have no thoughts about this. I feel like he would have liked my black hole segment earlier, but I'm just gonna pick a player. And I guess I mean you don't
have to pick a player. I'm just saying historically.
It could be anything, but historically it's been a player.
Scientific community.
No, I won't pick the scientific community. I actually think I am going to pick a player, and it's going to be Exy. It's going to be Exy, and the reason for that being
because he's on your team.
No,
you're an employee of the Florida Mayhem, and you picked a Florida Mayhem player that just got signed.
No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason. Ben Spoon, thank you for the $1,000. That's not the reason. So the real reason is, I think it's very interesting to get a player that is exciting and had to step away because of health problems back into the league, where it was clear that he still had a lot more to give. And he was such a talented player when he was playing. So I like when I see that perseverance over a health issue, coming back and be like, hopefully Exy can remain healthy enough to continue to play. But I think it's also very cool to see it when it's on addition of a team like Mayhem, where it's like, kind of like everyone's like, what the fuck is this squad? Pretty much. But I'm just excited to see a player like Exy make his return into the league, especially to eventually get his imagine the Exy Soldier when Soldier's fucking busted, like imagine even Sojourn, if Sojourn's going to be more meta. Like, it's going to be really exciting to see Exy playing those hit scan roles again, after some of the moments that he's had in the league. So that's why I'm going to give it to Exy, because I want to see a return to his previous form, him back in good health. And it's nice to see a player make that comeback here into another game. And I'm hoping we're going to see kind of that in general with Overwatch 2. It kind of is that vibe. It's almost the vibe check of Exy of like old stuff coming back. Streamers, content, players, hope. Didn't have that for a long time. All of it just coming back for Overwatch 2. And that's why I'm giving it to Exy, Bren's Player of the Week.
I'll approve it. I'll approve it. That. Fair enough.
And I think that's the episode. I was worried this was going to be a monster episode, but because I'm a beast,
you actually moved the show along.
Monster episode, bro. It's pretty monstrous.
I mean, it was pretty big, but it's in terms of overall time, dude. We fucking ramble on Plat Chat Valorant. Like we spend like 3 hours talking about the guy shot real good. We spent 3 hours trying to talk about that shit. So it's like it's nice that we actually got through it here on Overwatch in a reasonable manner.
Dude, I watched some of the Tactical Crouch episodes, and they do like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then they start talking about anime. Like,
Yeah.
2 hours.
A full hour of only anime. That was only one time, but we did actually do that.
They're combining the anime category with like Overwatch analysis. It's weird. Maybe it works out.
It was that dry in the off season. We're like, all right, it's time to talk about other things in Overwatch because it's that dry.
Yeah, I really do.
It's ambitious.
It's ambitious to do that. We're not going to do that here. We're not going to bring in the anime talking to this. I'm already putting my foot down there. Let us know in the comments below when you look at like the hero list. Is there anything that stands up to you for meta? What are you hoping to see meta-wise heading into Overwatch 2 in the next season of the league? Like, what heroes are you hoping to see buffed, nerfed, etc.? Just talk about heroes. Just spam hero talk. All comments just talk about hero shit the entire time. And I don't want to hear any other topics of discussion. This is not. It's now just a hero tier list podcast. But yeah, we're gonna be back hopefully next week. Hopefully, no more breaks. And like, comment, subscribe, etc. And we will see you on the next one.